Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room.
Except Texas. Matt Brown still sucks.
There's the blitz. Touchdown, Lehman. Touchdown, Oklahoma. Williams got him on the blitz. Lehman on the pick.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I hate that guy.
Whoa.
Dave Bartu. We are in the Matrix.
Hey, NFL fan, Dave Bartu here, and this segment, part of a big series of NFL draft information. This segment is focused on the NFC East and, well, essentially the front office and their ability to draft starters. In my opinion, when it comes down to the NFL, there is nothing more important than a front office that drafts starters. I see it just like college football recruiting. The ability to evaluate all of these players and get them into your franchise or into your program is the stepping stone for everything else. It's easier to manage your team, your salary cap, everything being predicated off the ability to draft well or not. Because if you can't evaluate guys in the draft, how are you going to evaluate guys in free agency? So if you're bad at one, you're probably pretty bad at the other. But I'm about to go into that for the first time, and I'm going to focus on the NFC East. And this, well, I hope this segment blows your mind. It blew mine. I did not expect this kind of data to come out of reviewing 10 years of NFL drafting in the NFC East, but it is freaking amazing to me, and every day as I go through the numbers, I find something new. This segment on the NFC East is brought to you by the Pro Athletes Hemp Association in cooperation with the Pro Football Retired Players Association and its 22,000 former NFL players. The Pro Athletes Hemp Association offers professional strength CBD and professional strength full spectrum CBD hemp products shipped to all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live, it can go anywhere. So if you're looking for a natural way to battle aches, pains, inflammation, sleep, anxiety, recovery, go to hempforpros.com and support health and wellness programs for former NFL players. Use my coupon code, CFBMatrix, at hempforpros.com. Now, the one thing I didn't mention on here was energy. And their energy capsules, something I take when I need to pick me up. So I've tried the 5-hour energies, the Red Bulls, this, that, and the other. Coffee. Used to drink a lot of coffee. I'll just pop one of these capsules. 30 in a container. So totally portable. And it's basically like getting a 5-hour energy hit or getting an energy drink hit, except a lot less expensive per capsule, and I can take it anywhere. I don't have to carry a 6-pack of whatever with me to get an energy hit when I need it with all the hours that I work. So as I go through this, be patient. You may have to listen to it a couple of times just because the information that I'm going to cover is unlike anything I've ever seen for NFL draft coverage anywhere. I've never seen anybody break it down like this by the team, and so it takes a little while to process all of it. I've been working on it for months, so I'm very familiar with it, but I will try to explain all these numbers as I walk through them. So the first thing is the time period. This is the last 10 years. So this is all the numbers that I'm going to talk about are rooted in NFL rosters, guys who actually made the roster, not just signed an undrafted free agent contract or anything like that. These are all guys that made the roster at some point in the season since 2012. And I have each guy broken down by their round. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, undrafted free agent rookie signings. That's what we're going to focus on. The next segment, the next podcast will be the free agency profile. But it's a balance. right? Because every team only has X number of starts per game. You got 22 guys. You have 16, now 17 games. And there's only two kind of player, right? There is the player that is drafted by your team, and there is the player that is a free agent that is signed by your team. So the focus right now is just going to be on guys drafted and the contributions that they make to the team. So, first round. In the NFC East, this is how important the first round is, actually the first 3 rounds, but specifically the first and second round when you look at the numbers. So in the NFC East in the last 10 years, 31% of all the starts by drafted players, so players drafted by Dallas, Philly, Washington, New York, 31% of all the starts of drafted players were from first rounders. 19% of the second rounders made up 19% of all the starts. 14-10 for the fourth round, all the way down. Now when you start, this is where it gets interesting. The fifth rounders were 7% of the starts. Sixth rounders, 7% of the starts. Seventh rounders, 3% of all the NFC starts. Undrafted free agent rookies signed by Dallas, Philly, Washington, New York, 8% of all the starts. So undrafted free agents make up more starts than the group of 5th, 6th, or 7th round players by these teams. Now think about that. So how valuable are those 5, 6, 7 round picks as picks versus trade bait? I'll circle back to that in a moment. I'll probably end up, like I said, bouncing all over the place. And I don't mean to get you confused, but there's a lot of stuff here, and I'm not exactly sure how to lay it all out. So if the charts are up in front of you, if you can pull up the charts that we had provided to this, the first thing I'll go over is starts by drafted round. Okay, so first round for the Cowboys, the number of starts that their first round picks generated from 2012 through 2021 was 786. Philadelphia, 621. Washington, 577. And the Giants, 596. So the number one, clearly, Dallas is way out in front on this. You're talking 786 starts from their first round picks over the last 10 years. Washington has 577. So that's 210, round numbers, 210 more starts that the Dallas front office has been able to extract out of their first round picks. So that means Washington has to get them somewhere else, either later rounds or free agency. A lot harder to manage. Now, Dallas, in that period of time, only had 8 first-round picks. Washington had 7. Philly had 9. The Giants had 12 picks in the first round in the last 10 years that generated 596 starts. Washington had 7 first-round picks that generated 577 starts. So when you look at the breakdown of starts per pick, the Giants are at 50. Washington is at 82. Philly is at 69. And Dallas is at 98. So I think right there I can tell you which front office in order from best to worst I'm going with for the first round. The second round, number of picks, Dallas 9, Philly 11, Giants 9. The numbers are pretty close there. The Giants have 532 starts of their second round guys. Good solid number there. They actually lead the second round in starts per second round pick. They've been pretty good at that. They're actually averaging more starts per pick out of their second round than their first round. Washington's second round has just been an abomination. This is how bad it is. They have 146 starts from their second round picks in the last 10 years. They have 149 starts from their undrafted free agents they signed right out of college. They have more starts from their undrafted free agents than their second round picks. Brutal. Philly 468, Dallas 396. So Dallas takes a big step back in the last 10 years in their second round. Third round is all Cowboys. 12 picks, 551 starts. Giants 11 picks, 136 starts. This is the Giants have fewer starts from their third round picks, 136, than their undrafted free agents, 155. So right now, I don't even, if we're voting on front office failures, I'm looking at Washington and the Giants, second round and third round, unequivocally. They're worse than their undrafted free agent count. Dallas has done a really good job in the third round with 551 starts. Philadelphia, 8 picks, 199 starts, only 25 starts per pick. That's in the bottom two. The Giants easily lead it. They're getting 12 starts per pick out of the third round, which is equal to their fourth round, 11 starts per pick, their fifth round, 11 starts per pick, and their seventh round, 12 starts per pick. Their undrafted free agents at the Giants average more starts per guy that makes the roster than their third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh round picks. I can't believe it. It's just shocking to me. Dallas, their fourth round, again, very good here. They lead. They're actually second in the NFC East in starts per pick in the fourth round. 314 total. Washington has 283 starts total out of their fourth round picks. They just have fewer fourth round picks. And then fifth, sixth, and seventh, like I said, not a whole lot there compared to undrafted rookie free agents that turn into starters. So you look at a whole, and actually before I get too far ahead, let's take a look at your undrafted free agents that become starters. Who's good at finding the diamonds in the rough? For Dallas, they have 222 starts. And the nice thing about this is it's an open market, right? So it's evaluating guys, getting them in, and do they generate starts. Dallas generated 222 starts from their undrafted rookie free agents. Philly, 142, Washington, 149, and the Giants, 155. So, again, I think all the numbers, when you look at the entire composite of starts generated by guys drafted into the franchise, when you add it all up, this is where the really big number is in the last 10 years. So Dallas has pulled 2,553 starts from the guys that they drafted as rookies. Philadelphia, a little bit more than 400 starts behind, 2127. Washington, 1859. So Washington has almost exactly 700 fewer starts from its drafted players than Dallas. 700. That's 70 starts per season. How much harder is that front office having to work to find the free agents to fill all those gaps? And the Giants, easily the worst. 1,711 starts from the guys they drafted by their front office. That is 800, almost 850 starts behind the Cowboys. To give you a good idea of how big of a difference this is, to have to make that up, the Giants have gone through 131 different free agent starters in the last 10 years. Dallas has had 146 total different starters over the last 10 years. Unreal. So, I look at these numbers as from a starting standpoint, and no wonder it's difficult for Giant coaches. It doesn't matter who's coaching that. When you have to go through, look at the starter count in the last 10 years. Different guys that have started for these franchises. New York Giants, 215. Washington, 176. Philadelphia, 166. Dallas, 146. Whose front office is killing themselves trying to find starters? Who's failing at the draft? How much easier is it for a coaching staff to deal with 146 different guys over 10 years versus 215 different guys? So, I mean, if you're coaching the New York Giants, you're screwed because front office isn't finding guys. They'd probably say, well, you're just not coaching them well. Draft says otherwise, man. Draft says otherwise. Now, something I just thought of is what happens to New York Giant guys that get drafted that go somewhere else? Are they more productive somewhere else? Or do they basically have the same production? Is there some way of looking at improvement of a player in a different environment? Or maybe for these teams that are really bad at drafting, maybe you just don't hire their free agents. Now, everybody's going to find good players, right? It's kind of a lottery. But if you're trying to reduce risk, if you're a front office, for example, what we're looking at here, we can see in the numbers the Cowboys are the best drafter in the NFC East by far. So if they're the best at player evaluation, if they have a free agent, wouldn't you be more apt to sign, let's say, a tight end that came out of Dallas versus a tight end that came out of the Giants? Reducing risk. If you're a general manager of an NFL franchise, one of the things that the numbers show is that general managers don't like to take a lot of risks. They like consistency. They like to know what they're getting. And if you're going to sign a free agent, might be nice to sign free agents that were originally evaluated by guys that are really good at evaluating versus a group that maybe isn't. Just thinking out loud. So you look at the breakdown of where all the starts come from drafted players. You look across the board, the NFC East, the first round, 31% of all the starts by drafted players come from the first round. Now the Giants have 35% of their starts. They're well above average. Philadelphia only 29%. So in the first round, the picks. Now the Giants have had a lot more picks, and their starts per first round pick are down. So I think you got to really look inside the numbers in terms of where it's coming from in terms of the balance. But with the Giants, 66% of all their starts are first and second round players. Whereas there's a lot more balance. Philadelphia is at 51%. Dallas is at 47% of all of their drafted starts are from first and second round players. That is a really big gap. Dallas is excellent in the third and fourth round. They lead their total third and fourth round starts is at 34%. Philadelphia is at 16%, so Philly ain't getting much there. The Giants, 13% of all of their starts from drafted players are their third and fourth round. Compare that to 9% of undrafted free agent starts. It's just unbelievable to me, the difference in all of these numbers. I think the big thing that stands out with the bottom part of the draft, round 5, 6, 7, if I look at, specifically I look at Dallas. Dallas has pulled 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11% of all the Cowboys starts from drafted players in the last 10 years. 11% come from their 5th, 6th, and 7th round players. 9% come from undrafted free agents. So I believe inside the numbers, Dallas is finding a way to evaluate players a little bit better than everybody else in the division, except on the bottom end. So to me, if I'm a GM, I'm taking a look at some of these numbers and I'm going, am I better off trading these picks to try to get that third and fourth round guy? Because that's where you look at the NFC East, guys that are drafted, 75% of the starts are from the first through fourth round. How important is round 5, 6, and 7? And if you're really dependent on 5, 6, and 7, does it mean you're just not good at evaluation? Does it mean you are missing on guys a little bit more? Or does it mean that you are too dependent on paying and retaining the guys you select in the first 4 rounds, because that could be part of it as well. Do you hang on to a guy that is not a high quality as you could get somewhere else? So depends on how you want to look at the numbers. But real quick to rehash it, back to the beginning, starts created by guys that you drafted or signed as undrafted free agent rookies. Over the last 10 years, Dallas 2,553 starts, Philadelphia 2,127 starts, the Commanders 1,859 starts, Giants 1,711 starts from their drafted guys. And considering Dallas's drafted guys that make up the 2,553, 69, Philadelphia 76, Washington 74, Giants 79, all about the same number of draft picks, but almost an 850 difference in starts made. The next segment, stay tuned. Next segment I will post will break down the free agents. Where do these teams focus on finding guys? Where do you find the value? And how many starts by free agents does everybody need to make up for what the drafted players don't account for? This is Dave Bartu, the CFB Matrix, and for the next 2 weeks, NFL Draft Matrix. Thank you for joining me.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I hate that guy.
Whoa.